the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the MHO show. My name is Chris Netto. I am your host. I am also hanging out with two very smart, very intellectual people who are living in the real world as opposed to the augmented reality world. First off, we have down in Atlanta. How are you, Mrs. Dillman?
I'm doing great. How about you, Chris?
I'm doing good. This is going to be another fun topic. As you can imagine, we are going to go delve deep into the into our nerdery, to say the least. Mike, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Chris. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. Glad to see you're doing better.
I am. Thank you.
Excellent. So, we had two recent shows now regarding augmented reality. Okay, the first one happened to be us talking about how augmented reality works within the AV industry. The second one focused mainly on Pokemon Go and what's going on with that. So in continuation to the conversation about augmented reality, one of the things that I'd like to bring up is there's been a lot of positive conversation regarding how augmented reality is going to help the industry. So let's toss out and let's be the naysayers here. What can you foresee, and this is a question for the three of us to go at, what can you foresee, what technology is possibly going to get affected or hit hardest by AR? I will start it off, since it was one of the topics that I saw, and it was kind of an intriguing thing because I never thought about augmented reality hurting any particular group or technology within our industry. So the first thing that came to mind when somebody said augmented reality and the possibility that technology could be affected by it, the first thing I thought about was the transparent displays that have been debuted at Infocom back in like 2013, 2014. Samsung had these great cubes that, you know, they put a watch inside. I think it was a Rolex watch or a Movado watch, and then all around the watch you had little bubbles that talked about the parts of the watch, little arrows that pointed at the details of the watch, an overlay of the watch being made. This is all very nice, and it sat in a retail environment. It really added to the experience of that watch. Now you were getting basically a little commercial over the actual watch. So the first thing I thought of is, you know, if augmented reality is coming in, I think that would be a technology that could possibly take a hit because it's technically doing the same thing. It's placing something over, not necessarily what Pokemon Go is, because Pokemon Go does not interact with the environment, but it does give you that overlay. What's your thoughts on that, guys?
I think augmented reality is looking pretty good. You know, we discussed this a little bit. I like the fact that it's hit the masses. You know me, I'm a huge fan of VR. Virtual reality, I think it's got great potential. The problem with VR that I see is they can't get away from all of the hardware that has to be on you. So this augmented reality, bringing it to the masses, it's on everybody's phone. It's intriguing and engaging enough that it might actually give VR a real run for the money. Somebody said 3D, but we all know that died before it even started. So, although I'm hearing rumbles that it might be coming back.
Would you add wearable or NFC devices to that as well? Because a lot of the times when we start talking about you know, what's hot in the industry, in our industry, you know, obviously data mining, which this thing does, or this game, you're carrying your phone. So the phone is now replacing the device that you would be either wearing these googly goggles for your VR or the Google Glass, which had that transparent overlay. It also will affect, you know, it'll act what Crestron, for example, is doing with Pinpoint. They're using their cell phones and an app inside the cell phone to tell their control systems that, hey, I'm in the room and the schedule, you know, for a scheduled call, for example. So the phone is a powerful tool. People forget that. The augmented reality thing, working on the phone in sync with its camera, adds a whole other component to it that it may threaten some of the technologies. Mike, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it'll definitely threaten some technologies. I think what I'd like to just go over is some of the applications and the ideas and how the technology will alter as a result. We hear a lot of talk with Pokemon Go specifically that people don't want it in their museums or at national parks or anything like that. I'm looking at it as, well, you don't want that game, but you do want an application. You do want AR application. Say goodbye to assisted listening tours. That'll just be overwritten by you just walking around the Philadelphia Museum of Art and holding your phone up to a piece of artwork and getting the full history of it and everything that's unique about it. And it being done by a celebrity or an expert. That's the other thing, is that I think you could end up getting tours of New York City, by Alec Baldwin, or what have you. It's so many different applications that are going to change the way that people interact with the world. Digital signage, I think, is got a bit of a threat now in some regards. In some ways, it can be paired with digital signage. In other ways, it may replace digital signage in some applications. So I definitely agree with you, Chris. I think that transparent displays isn't the only spot that we're going to see this potentially really changing the way that we interact with the world.
Think of projection mapping. Projection mapping is a hot technology. All three of us have seen some really great examples of it. Now, think about projection mapping, say at the Olympics in Rio. You have the infield or the grass area of the open ceremony, for example, with projection mapping, and it's almost guaranteed that's going to be there, right? Every Olympic and event that we've seen has had some sort of that, because it's the wow factor. You overlay that for the people that are in the stadium with augmented reality on top of that, allowing things to happen that are defying physics and adding to their experience, because again, this all goes back to the new way of doing business, which is the customer experience. So now if you're adding that extra layer, and what does it really cost? That extra layer of content, it's a piece of content that's overlaid over another piece of content. I mean, we're just adding layers upon layers, but it's adding a depth to the experience. And you're right, Mike. How many companies that make those cone of silence speakers that you walk into in the museums that just focus the sound in front of that painting, where you don't want a lot of noise? But now, you know what? I get to listen to, well, Jackson Pollock was crazy, and this is why he was crazy, and this is how he came up with this idea. That adds to it. And to be honest with you, if they overlay some footage of him painting and then put it so that you could see it, it's the Snapchat filters, it's the stuff like that that's really moving this discussion forward. Melissa?
I agree. I am perplexed and puzzled, though, by the ease of which we give away all of our data, right? So if I open my phone up to all of this, I'm only inviting more opportunities for people to access my camera, access my mic, know exactly what I'm doing. Not saying that they can't do that now. This is easier to give away the farm.
Yeah. So, I mean, with everything that we're talking about and discussing, technology will be affected, but again, the warning signs are there. We will say it, and every time we're going to mention this, especially when you start talking about the data that's being mined off your phone. Ladies and gentlemen, please be careful as to the information that you are freely handing over, and think about that. That's the only thing we can say, because we cannot prevent it, so we're going to tell people to please think about what they're handing over for the Googles and Pokemons and Niantics of the world that are out there grabbing this information and finding out what it is you do, where you go. And maybe at some point this will be used for good, But you know what? Let's all think that this is all nefarious type means, and that there's people with twisting mustaches and big top hats and stuff like that. For all you youngins, that would be a reference to old movies where the guy was with the little mustache and somebody was tied to a railroad track. I'm sure if you watch cartoons from back in the day, you'll see it. Anyway, this has been the MHO show. Mike, you want to wrap something up before we go?
I'm trying to come up to see if I can come up with a silent movie reference like you just did. I'm good. People can find me online at AXP Mike on Twitter, LinkedIn, all the interoperable websites out there.
Where you freely give up your information now anyway.
Where I freely give up all of my information anyway.
There you go. Melissa, tell us about where we can find everything about Melissa on the internet where we don't have to look on your phone.
You don't even have to do it because clearly it's already out there. Anybody that wants to continue this conversation, you can find me on Twitter at Melissa Dillman all the time. So check me out there. Excellent.
And my name's Chris Netto. You can find me at Chris Netto. At Chris_Netto on Twitter and at Chris.Netto on Snapchat. And whatever you may find about me, that is not my name on the bathroom wall. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching the MHO show. My name's Chris. We appreciate your time. We appreciate that you guys are giving us the opportunity to speak to you about some stuff that's our humble opinion, which I've messed up before in the past and called it our honest opinion, but it's our humble opinion. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the MHO show.